We'll be starting shortly. Happy St. Patrick's Day! We'll start in a few minutes. Hello, and thank you for tuning in. Johnathan Barber, Senior Mortgage Specialist here on this cold, rainy St. Patrick's Day. I hope this message finds you well, and thank you for tuning in. A few ground rules. This is completely unscripted information, completely unscripted and impromptu, and we have a few requests, especially because it is St. Patrick's Day, and so many of you are already enjoying your green beer. It's important that we make a few disclaimers. Please do not suggest, comment, question inappropriately, because this is a live stream. We can't control the content, so please be very respectful in your questions and your comments. Also, it will be very difficult to answer all of your questions while I'm presenting this information, so please keep that in mind. And if I cannot get to your question or your comment, I promise you that I will find you. I will find you, and I will answer that question later. So thank you for tuning in. These seminars that we do these classes, these financial fitness classes, to get out information to the community, and it's all free, and it's our way of thanking you, the community, for your continued support, your friendship. Sincerely, we appreciate you telling your friends and family about what we're doing here, and you are a part of this mission. You are a part of this great thing that we're doing, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. So share this video, make comments, jump in, chime in, have fun, and let's get started. So today we're going to talk about teamwork. Now, for those of you who know me, you are probably very familiar with my go-to phrase: teamwork makes the dream work. Teamwork makes the dream work. And when you're buying a house, that is so true. If you don't have a good team, you're not going to close. You can have 800 credit scores. You can be a Procter & Gamble manager with $1 billion in the bank account. If you don't have a good team, you will not be a homeowner. It's tragic, it's sad, but it's so real. And we're going to talk about that today, and we're probably going to ruffle some feathers, and we're probably going to say some things that aren't too pleasant, but you need to know this information. And we give this information to you from a purely clinical perspective. We're certainly not trying to be rude or disrespectful, but we know that so many of our clients have failed miserably as a result of picking the wrong team, that we want to have this particular online installment to address that particular need: teamwork. So we're going to tell you how to pick a good team, why you should pick a good team, and who should be the members of your team. So again, thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions or want to chime in, just feel free to post your comment, and I will try my best to answer that question while we're talking. So the very first thing that we're going to talk about the lender. The lender is the quarterback. He is the most important part of your team. But as you know from the Cincinnati Bengals, you can have a great quarterback and you could still lose games. So you must look at the entire team to score, the entire team to win. But you must build your team around a great loan officer. So there are basically two types of loan officers. There's your banker, and there is a broker. So let's talk about a broker. Let's talk about a broker first. And I'm fortunate to have been in both seats throughout my 17-year career. I actually started as a broker, working for a company that I will not mention on this video because it is recorded. And usually, as soon as I mention that company, I start cracking a lot of jokes. And we're going to keep this very sensitive and very professional this time. But I work for a broker, and I was able to take a client's application and shop it around to many different banks to get the client approved. Sometimes the client might have had a bankruptcy a year ago. This is back in the dinosaur days when lending was crazy. I could take it to one particular bank, and if the loan got denied, I could take it to another bank and another bank and another bank. So I was 9 times out of 10, I was able to find a home for every loan as a broker. The downside to that, obviously, I took the file to many different banks to get the file approved, which hurt the credit score. As you know, when you have multiple credit inquiries, it does bring down your score. The other downside to that was, as a broker, we had excessive fees. We had high fees, high overhead, and we passed those along to the consumer. So often consumers would come to the closing paying more than they should have. But a broker experience was a little limited because I never had my own personal underwriter. I never had my own personal underwriter I could go to and say, hey, this is a hard file. Can we make an exception if I get you this? You're not able to do that as a broker because you're a middleman. You're the guy sitting behind a desk with no one around, and you don't have any allegiance to these big banks that are taking that loan. So it's a little bit of a handicap, but in some ways it's a beneficial because you can shop that loan and get the best rate and get the best deal for your client. A banker. I am a banker. Both of the guys are licensed, they're educated, they take continuing ed, but a banker is super cool. A banker has the ability to instant message his underwriter, hi JB, underwriting team. He can message the underwriter and say, hey, look, here's what we have going on with this file. Can you help me figure out a solution? And the underwriters will passionately work with the loan officer in finding a solution. Case in point, this week, I messaged my underwriter, Mike, and I said, hey, look, here's a problem with a deal. Help me figure out a solution. And Mike stopped what he was doing and he helped me figure out a solution. So it's great to be a banker because in this lending era, it's hard. It's hard to get a file approved. So you want to pick a loan officer who has that direct relationship with an underwriter. I know what my underwriters like to eat. I know where they're from. At my last bank that I was with, Union National, my underwriter and I were so close. She actually knew things about my files before I could even turn the files in. She knew my clientele, she knew my grants, she knew me, she knew everything. So it was the coolest relationship. She could pull me in her office and together we would put our heads together to close loans and help families. So make sure that you pick either the banker or the broker that will fit your particular situation. But if I may say, you want to stick with a banker right now because the lending rules are so insane. The lending rules are ridiculous. They're stupid. And you really need to pick a strong loan officer who can navigate you through the minefield of lending rules and regulations. I see we have a question about down payment assistance, which is not particularly the topic at the moment, so we're going to save that for later. So we're talking about building a team, and we just got finished talking about a banker versus a broker, but there's one very important fact to digest. It really doesn't matter what bank or what brokerage you go to. You want to make sure that you pick an individual and not a bank because it happens to be the biggest bank in Cincinnati or pick a bank because that's where your checking account is. You want to pick a loan officer. It's a very, very important difference. Pick a lender, pick an individual. Pick an individual who has the characteristics that you're looking for your team. And these are the characteristics. You want to, wow, almost hurt myself. You want to pick a loan officer, first of all, who is educated. Pick a loan officer who has not only passed his state license tests and exams and all that junk, not only taken all of the regular continuing ed, but pick a loan officer who studies the doggone rules regularly. Pick a loan officer who, and yes, you can pick a loan officer and he'll help you build the whole team, but I'm showing you, Jeanette and others, how to pick the loan officer. So pick a loan officer who knows his stuff. And to be honest with you, the rules change so quickly. I have a team of people who watch those rules. And they tell me and all the other loan officers, hey, this rule just happened, this rule just changed, this procedure just changed. These are the rules coming up next month. So I'm proud to work at Equity Resources where they make me look good. But pick a great team that, especially a loan officer who knows the rules, a loan officer who's educated. Second of all, you want to pick a loan officer who cares. Now, you might think, aren't loan officers just calculator pushers? Aren't we just paper pushers? We process a loan? That is so false. Pick a loan officer who cares, because if you don't, you might find yourself in a situation where the other professionals don't really have your best interest in mind, and you're on a conveyor belt that's going to lead to disaster. And a lot of times that loan officer is the one who can say, hey, look, your house didn't appraise, and you shouldn't keep pushing this issue because you found a piece of crap house where you should be finding something else. Your loan officer is the one who can brutally be honest with you and say, hey, look, your realtors are strong-arming you into, and this is a true story, it happened 3 months ago. The realtor put this guy in a situation where they were strong-arming him into putting a new roof on a house that he didn't even own. A new roof. So they wanted him to come out of his pocket and put a new roof on a house. Everyone else in the team was saying, go for it, just do it, and you'll be a homeowner. But you need to pick a caring loan officer who can tell you, hey, look, that's risky, that's dangerous, because your loan is not approved and the house is not yours. Pick a caring loan officer who passionately is looking at your transaction as a family buying a house rather than a file with a number. And I can't tell you enough about how important that is. So you have to pick a loan officer who truly cares. The other two characteristics are even more important. Available. Buying a house now, my goodness, it is frightening. It is absolutely frightening. I'm a loan officer myself, and I've been doing it 17 years. And I bought a house months ago, and even as a loan officer, I was nervous. I was freaking out, and this was my third house. The lending rules are so bad right now. You have to make sure you pick a loan officer you can call. Pick a loan officer you can send them a text message at 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night, Saturday, Sunday after church, where you can call them and say, hey, look, can you explain that one more time? Can you help me understand that one more time? Or can you help me get this together? You must make sure you pick a loan officer who is available. Text message, Facebook message, passenger pigeon. Make sure you can communicate with your loan officer regularly. Buying a house, it's the most frightening thing that you'll do. It's right up there with getting married and having your first kid. So you want to make sure that you pick a guy who's not going to be like Charlie's Angels, like Charlie, a voice on a desk. Pick a guy you can drive to his office and say, hey, look, talk to me. What's going on with my loan? That's the number one reason why we are not advocates of the online brokerages where you never actually meet the guy. The guy is in Georgia or Seattle or somewhere, and he doesn't even know anything about Cincinnati, but you picked him to be your loan officer, and you can't talk to him or yell at him because he's in a different state. And he really doesn't care about your loan because he's got 20 loans on his desk, and he doesn't know anything about Cincinnati, and quite frankly, he hates the Bengals. So why would he care about your loan? Pick a local loan officer who is available to you. And side note, I know it doesn't seem like it, but your loan officer and your realtor are human. Please don't call them at 12 o'clock at night expecting them to pick up the phone. Make sure that you totally offer the respect that you expect to receive in that relationship. The last detail that we're going to talk about as far as picking a loan officer is communication. It's the last thing because it's the most important thing. True story. Many years ago, I had a client who was denied by a bigger bank, whose name we will not mention. It's St. Patrick's Day. I had to get that joke in. But he was denied at a bigger bank. He had good credit. He had money to put down, but he was denied. And he came to me, and he sat down, and I'm drinking my coffee, and I'm like, okay, well, all your information looks great, but why did they deny you? And he says, well, I was denied because I had this really big gap in employment, and I've only been on my new job for a few months. So I'm looking at my notes, and it didn't add up. He did have a huge gap. And I asked him, I said, well, what'd you do? What'd you do for 4 years? And he looked at me, and he told me he was incarcerated. And it happens. I said, well, what did you do when you were incarcerated? Did you take up a trade? Did you take up a skill? And he shook his head and said, yeah, absolutely. I learned culinary arts, and I got out, and I got a job working at a restaurant. At this very moment, that guy is in a house as a result of that conversation where he felt comfortable enough to talk to me about a situation. He closed. We got that loan closed because I listened, but most importantly, because he felt comfortable telling me his situation. You must pick a loan officer who communicates well with you, one that makes you feel like you can trust him. Make sure you pick a loan officer who is educated and can communicate the information to you in a way where you totally understand it. So communication, you have to pick a skilled lender. So we'll pause for 1 second. Anyone have any questions about the quarterback of the team? All right, great. So now we're going to ruffle some feathers. I see a few real estate agents chiming in, so I'm a little nervous. So let me put out a little disclaimer, because I know some of you real estate agents who are watching go to Planet Fitness and you can bench press more than I can. So let me just say a few things. I love and respect. Let me rephrase. I respect all real estate agents, because real estate agents, they work hard. They don't get paid, but they're driving you around town like they're Uber drivers looking at houses, and they don't get paid until you find a house. So I have the highest respect for realtors. Now, do I like or love every realtor? Absolutely not, because they all don't have these characteristics. In fact, some realtors don't work 100%. So if you happen to be a realtor who works 150%, give me a call after today's session. But you must pick a realtor who has these same qualities, especially communication, because your realtor has to know what you're looking for, has to know what's important to you, and has to be able to articulate all of your needs and wants, not only to you, but to a selling agent as well. Excellent example. Real estate agent found this guy a house. They did the home inspection. The client really hated one particular problem that was discovered during the home inspection. It was a deal breaker. And there were some other things that were wrong with the house as well, but instead of communicating that particular need as the number one need to the other agent, the realtor communicated everything but. So that deal died as a result of the realtor not communicating effectively. Another example, let me look through these names and make sure the realtor is not watching. Just joking. Actually, I'm not joking. The realtor took a client to a particular bank, and they were going to deny her. They were that close to denying her, and the realtor brought the client to me on a weekend, a weekend evening, and the realtor said, "Hey, I need an approval on the weekend. I need an approval right away because the other agent is pulling this deal if we don't have an approval." So I thought, it's impossible to get an approval on a file that we just received. And I actually said that to the real estate agent. And, ruffled her feathers a little bit. And then I decided, let me just go ahead and call the selling agent and find out if maybe he's on drugs, because you can't get files approved in 24 hours when you get the file over the weekend. You don't even have an appraisal, don't have title, you don't have transcripts, you don't have anything. So it's not reasonable to request that. I spoke with the other agent, and within minutes we had perfect communication. He explained to me, JB, I never asked for that. I just needed somebody to tell me what was going on. He only wanted communication. He didn't want an approval. So that miscommunication could have killed the deal. I could talk about communication all day long because it is the most important thing in dealing with a real estate transaction. But pick a real estate agent who doesn't mind communicating with everyone to get that deal done. And along those lines, make sure that you pick a real estate agent whose communication is positive and professional. Those of you who know me very well. Off stage, you know that there is one realtor in the city who just absolutely positively is I just want to put a dartboard on my wall and her face on there and just throw darts at it like all day long, because this one particular realtor is the nastiest realtor on the planet. But she's a great real estate agent. She knows her stuff. She knows lending better than most realtors. But the way she communicates with all parties in the transaction is so toxic that she destroys deals just by being hostile. So pick a realtor who is positive, professional, and a peacemaker, a great negotiator, but most importantly, communicates well. A realtor who's available, just like the loan officer, a realtor who cares, just like the loan officer, and a realtor who's educated. I see you asking for the name. No, I'm not that unprofessional to put her name out unfairly. But if you call me later, I'll help you figure out who it is. Anyway, an example of caring. I closed a loan with a realtor who is, I think, watching. She referred a Hispanic gentleman to me. This guy spoke very little English. I mean, I have to be careful how I explain this. Very little English, but the hardest working guy you would ever want to meet. I mean, he worked like 1 billion hours a week, 1 billion hours, hands calloused, and just a hard working guy. And first time I met him, his little boy had to translate. His little boy had to like explain the loan information. A little kid, an 8-year-old, 7-year-old little kid. And that little kid and the realtor, we had to massage this loan and translate the information. I use Google. Google Translate is like the coolest app ever. It helped me close the loan. But this realtor, she practically killed herself chasing documents, meeting the guy at his work. She worked really hard to get this deal done, endless hours, and it was a $70,000 loan. 70,000. I'll never forget the closing. Um, at the closing table, the realtor cried like she was at a funeral, and the guy started crying, and it was so emotional. We were all hugging, and it was great. And you need to make sure you pick a realtor who cares that much, because this is something you'll never do. You'll always remember the first time you buy a house. So make sure it's a pleasure, a wonderful experience. There was another transaction I had where it was the opposite. A realtor referred a client to me, great lady, great credit, but she was only buying a $100,000 house. And the realtor actually told this lady, hey, I'm referring you to this person over here to help you with your journey because you're buying a small house and I can't help you with that. And I see you, Ann. And the lady told me her story, and I was so shocked that he actually believed that, felt that, and shared that with her, that to this day, I never send that agent any business. So, moral of the story, pick a realtor who truly cares. And I'm proud to say that, I know probably 25 really good real estate agents. A lot of them are on my JonathanBarber.com website. A lot of them are on the wall of fame here at the office. But if you need to be referred to a really good realtor, I can give you a list of some of the top agents in the city. Pick a good real estate agent and a good quarterback, good loan officer. Because if you don't have a good team, you will not close. Now, a lot of times the real estate agents write on the purchase contract where the title company business should go, which is kind of ridiculous because the lender and the title company must work together. They have to work together to get the closing disclosure together, to get the title search, to get all the title information, to get the chain of title. It's a very close relationship where the lender works with the title company, not just during the transaction, but sometimes even after the transaction closes. We work with the title company to get post-closing documentation. So allow your loan officer to find the title company that works best for your situation. And I could be very unprofessional now and talk about some horror stories with certain title companies whose names always appear on certain real estate contracts, but we won't do that today. But make sure your lender helps you pick the title company. Also, insurance agent. I'm proud to say that next month we're going to have a guest speaker talk about insurance. She's one of the members of our team. She closes a lot of loans with us, so she'll be talking about finding the right insurance agent. An example of that would be very recently we had a guy named Brian, great guy. He picked, I won't say the name of the insurance company, but after the insurance company believed they secured his business, they disappeared. We couldn't reach him. We couldn't get an update to the title insurance. And then I asked my assistant, I said, how much is the insurance quote? How much is he going to pay? And the number was so absurd. We immediately stepped in and referred this guy to a different insurance agent who gave us the information we needed right away. And he closed, and he's a happy guy. And he's so appreciative that we went the extra mile to protect his dollar. So make sure that you pick a really strong, caring team that will do that for you. So I'm going to pause for a minute. Do you guys have any questions so far? All right. And no, we're not going to say any specific names. But if you have any questions about maybe you'd like to know the name and phone number of a really strong real estate agent. Again, I'm fortunate to have at least 20 or 25 realtors that I can refer you to, and I have a top 5 I can refer you to. So if you are looking to buy a house or looking to sell a house, by all means, send me a message later and I'll be happy to put you in touch with a really strong real estate agent. And of course, if you have any loan questions, I'm available usually 24/7. So thank you again for watching and interacting with us today during today's seminar. Please have a very safe, very responsible, but insanely fun St. Patrick's Day. Don't drink and drive, use Uber. And thank you again for all of your continued business and support.